Thanks, Tom. After that introduction, I need to go change into my Superman suit real quick. It's a lot to live up to. Before I get started, I want to thank some people. I want to thank Tom Crosby, David McClaskey, Powell Barger, and any of the Powell's owner-operators that may be with us. I absolutely would not be standing here today if it were not for Powell's inspiration to start our journey and being right there beside us the whole way through it. They opened up all their best practices. They were our biggest cheerleader. There's nothing I can do to thank you guys enough. Only hope that we can be half the role model that you've been for us. One quick story, Tom, I hadn't had a chance to share with you. Last summer, I was in Orlando and had been asked to take part in a panel for the multi-unit restaurant conference. After I spoke, a gentleman approached me, and he goes, "You know, you remind me a lot of this guy named Tom Crosby with what you were talking about." Now, little did he know, he couldn't have given me a better compliment, and he not only delighted me, but he made my year. I'm going to begin with a question I have for you. Are you willing to do what it takes? I mean, are you? I mean, do you just desire excellence? Have you maybe just been dabbling in it? Or are you willing to achieve it? You must decide, is the squeeze worth the juice? Now, excellence is not rocket science, or believe me, I wouldn't be standing up here today. But it is not easy. But if you have the passion, and we believe passion is the willingness to suffer and to sacrifice for something you love. If so, I know of no better method to achieve excellence than the Baldrige Criteria. In fact, I believe this so strongly that if I were starting a brand new company from scratch today, and I had my choice as a partner, a Harvard MBA or a Malcolm Baldrige expert, with no disrespect to Harvard, I'm going with a Baldrige person, hands down. Now, what I'm going to cover with you today is first I'm going to talk a little bit about our culture, why we do things the way we do them. Then I'm going to demonstrate how we overachieve. I'm going to talk about our people, what an A player is to K&N Management. Then how we brand big. And then finally, how we measure up against our competition. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. Now, Tom gave a good description of the business of K&N Management. So I'm not going to repeat what he just told you. But I do want to add that we have about 500 team members. Our gross sales are a little over $50 million annually. Mighty Fine we describe this way. It's a modern day take on the classic Texas burger where quality is everything. Rudy's is an old style meat market, what you might find in a small rural town from years past. We serve our barbecue by weight. It's on butcher paper. The country store is actually a small convenience store, and we even sell gas out of the store. Our mission statement is to guarantee that every guest is delighted because of me. Our mission is simple, it's easy to communicate, and it applies equally to me as well as all 500 of our team members. Our vision to become world famous by delighting one guest at a time. Now, you'll notice that directly aligns with our mission. But I gotta be honest with you. When our senior leadership team initially proposed this vision, I pushed back a little bit. I just didn't think it was realistically achievable. I mean, we're a small company in Austin. How are we supposed to become world famous? Well, I'm happy to report I stand here today proven wrong. We now regularly receive guest feedback from all over the world. In fact, just last week, we had 58 Korean business executives fly to Austin to come benchmark our best practices. They even had to bring their own interpreters with them. Our core values, they are excellence, quality, integrity, and relationships. Now, I want to share a few examples of why these are much more than just words on our wall. We define excellence as excellence for the sake of excellence alone. That just means that's who we are. It's how we're hardwired. If you notice the tagline, it's the love of excellence. We chose that word because it's a very powerful word, and also because it's true. We do love excellence. If you notice the globe where normally an O would be, that's to align with our vision of becoming world famous. Quality is everything. You're looking at a picture of one of our mighty fine locations, and we proudly display that in each of our stores above our quality products. That's the mindset that drove everything about the creation of Mighty Fine. It's still a major part of our culture today and always will be. Do what you say you'll do when you say you'll do it. That's actually a picture of the front of my desk in my office. And yeah, I didn't just stage that for a picture. That's really what I have there instead of my name. It's much more important to me, whether you're a team member, a guest, a vendor, that you remember this than it is that you remember my name. I've found that excellence comes much easier when everyone lives by this. Now, in the spirit of continual improvement, I am considering changing that to do what you say you'll do before you say you'll do it. So did y'all get that? And relationships. Relationships are putting our guests, our team members, and the community above ourselves. Some of you may recognize this picture. It made national news back in February of last year. That's a picture of an office building located about 2 miles south of our corporate office and our original Rudy's restaurant. A terrorist attack happened there when someone intentionally flew a small plane into that building and completely destroyed it. Unfortunately, a man lost his life in the tragedy. He was a long-term IRS employee, and his name was Vernon Hunter. The next day, the paper ran a story on Mr. Hunter. They asked his family how to describe his life. And what they said was he was an usher at his church and a fan of Rudy's barbecue. So when we read that, we knew we were going to do something. So we contacted Mr. Hunter's family. Following his funeral service, they brought 3 large buses to one of our Rudy's. We closed most of the restaurant down, and we fed over 200 of his friends and family at no cost. This was just simply our way of honoring the life of Vernon Hunter. You see a picture there of Dr. Jack Allen. Jack is an example of us putting our team members over ourselves. Jack is our corporate chaplain. He's one of our 500 team members. Jack has a PhD in ethics. He's a graduate of seminary. He helps mainly with what we call life balance, but that's a really broad term that can almost encompass any issue a team member may be dealing with. It could be a financial problem, a relationship issue, spiritual question. Heck, he'll even do your wedding for you, and has. We are absolutely convinced that by Jack helping our 500 team members be better me's, that we increase our guest delight. Next, I want to share our key business drivers with you. These are the 7 drivers that we've identified that are critical to our success. It's what we must be world-class at. They are food quality, value, people, speed of service, cleanliness, hospitality, and order accuracy. Whenever we're making a decision or considering an improvement, we go back always first to these key business drivers, and we ask, which one will it improve? Will it negatively affect any of the others? Fish philosophy. Some of you have probably heard of fish. It's becoming more and more popular. We've been using it for over 10 years. The fish philosophy originated at the Pike's Place Fish Market in Seattle. It's a component of our culture that has had a huge impact on our team member engagement. Fish is made up of 4 building blocks. The first, choose your attitude. I mean, nothing is more important than picking the right attitude. Number 2, be present. That means be fully engaged with each and every guest that walks through our doors. Make their day. Now, delight is creating a memorable experience as opposed to just a satisfied experience. And making someone's day goes a long way towards creating guest delight. And finally, play. Even I've come around on this. We've found that play increases guest delight. Now, I want to sum up what I've talked about so far with our culture. And we do this with what we call our guest delight universe. Now, our universe starts with our sun, and our sun is guest delight. What orbits around our sun are our core values, mission, vision, key business drivers, and of course, fish. Is Larry Potterfield in the room? Oh man, you're right there. I added this just for you. If you need a few minutes to go get your weapon of choice, feel free. Actually, this is another way that illustrates our laser focus on guest delight. Now, when we have companies come to benchmark us, or maybe a new entrepreneur that's going into a new business that just seeks out some advice, one of the first things I ask is, what do you do? And let's just take a restaurant. They'll typically say, well, we're in the steakhouse business. We're a seafood restaurant. We deliver pizza. And then I ask, how do you do that? And they'll describe some processes. Well, we order our product, we prep it, we cook it. That's how we do it. Then I ask them, why do you do it? And that's when I get the blank look typically. They kind of think, well, isn't it obvious? We do it to make a profit, pay the bills. Why would anybody do this? Well, I want to challenge you to think of this differently. At K&N, we start and work from the inside out. We start by answering our why. I was inspired to do this by a book I read by Simon Sinek. Our why is we delight guests. That's why we all come to work every day. It's the reason K&N Management exists. All 500 of our team members are calibrated on our why, and we stay focused on it. Our how, A-player talent. In just a little bit, I'm going to define what an A-player is at K&N Management. 2, world-class processes. And strategic plan execution. That's how we do it. What we do, we achieve excellence. Now, you notice there's nothing on there about profitability, growth, or even sustainability. Those all come in much, much greater measure by us staying focused on our why. So if you've never asked what your why is, I encourage you to go home and do so, and then calibrate your team. I mentioned I would talk about how do we outperform our competitors. Well, simply put, we do that by overachieving. There's 4 key ways we overachieve. Number 1, we overprepare. An example of that. Take a new team member. Their first day on the job is spent in a 10-hour foundations class. During this day, among many other things, we calibrate them on our culture. And they understand why we do things the way we do them, and that it's all aligned to delight our guests. We also instill pride in the team member and make sure they feel proud that they were selected to be one of our A players, because we are very selective. They'll also have a first day orientation. And even a new part-time hourly team member will receive 50 to 60 hours of training before they're ever asked to delight a guest. We over-communicate. As you can imagine, on our journey, it required constant change. It's the only way to improve. In fact, our mantra during our journey, as it is today, is this: change begins with a vision of becoming something better. Along the way, we created an innovative process to get full buy-in on these improvements. Managers go over new processes and improvements for 7 consecutive days. And then last, it's posted on the communication board that we have in all of our restaurants. We overlearn. We use coaching charts. See a picture there of Chris, one of our general managers, actually using his coaching chart. And we do this from the guest side of the line, which just simply means they're on the side of the counter where our guest would come up to order. Our general managers are given the flexibility to choose based on any gaps or opportunities for improvement that their key measures may identify. We also constantly rotate guest delight processes into our daily coaching. And the team members receive immediate daily one-on-one feedback. And number 4, we over-measure. In fact, we measure so much. In our Baldrige feedback, one of our OFIs was, you really may need to look and see if you're over-measuring. I kind of took that as a compliment. I don't know of another company that measures to the level we do, except for Powell's. You're looking at what we call a replay analyst. And what she does is she watches film from our restaurants, and she measures things like hospitality, order accuracy, speed of service, and she gives each of our restaurants weekly feedback on how they're doing. Now, people are critical to our business. I'm sure you'd all say the same thing about your business. In fact, I believe they're so critical that my most important job as an owner is to recruit and to retain A players. According to top grading, an A player is this. It's the top 10% of people that are willing to work for what you may be paying. That could be minimum wage, or it could be $1 million a year. But how do you identify and select the top 10%, and how are you correct in your decision at least 90% of the time? That's what top grading's about. We've been using it since 2005. Our hiring and selection processes are all derived from this book. Now, we don't have C players in our company, and the only Bs we have are ones that are just there temporarily because they need some coaching to become an A. If we have a C player, first we ask, is there another job in the company where they could perform at an A player level? If there's not, we redeploy them. We actually believe it would be immoral to keep them around. I mean, everybody deserves the right to be an A player. And if they can in our company, the sooner they can find a company they can be, the better off we are, the better off they are. As I'm sure you won't be surprised to hear, most of our team members fall under Generation Y or Gen Y. Gen Y are people that were born from around the mid-'70s up to the early 2000s. Jason Dorsey actually wrote a book to help companies better engage with the Y generation, and he actually featured us in one of his chapters for our recruiting and our application process. What you see, we have prominently displayed in all of our stores. The little white dispenser you see, a prospective team member would come up and pull a little ticket out. On that ticket is a website address and a 1-800 number. They can apply 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Jason said there's no need for a pen. It results in a complete, correct application. And he summed it up as brilliant. Now, being in a highly competitive field like the restaurant industry, it's been very key for us to also excel in our branding. We believe in branding big. That means our branding needs to be fun, unique, memorable, and it needs to align with the personality of our brands. With that said, how's that for big? That is a giant Rudy's barbecue sauce blimp. We've been flying that for about 7 years in the Irwin Center, which is where the University of Texas plays basketball. It's become an attraction just like the game itself. It flies the arena, it drops tickets for free Rudy's barbecue. People of all ages engage with it. You'll see, 80-year-old people waving at it, come over me, come here. You'll see kids actually following it around the entire arena. We go big with our burgers too. That's a Mighty Fine burger blimp that we actually fly in a different venue that seats about 12,000. It drops free Mighty Fine goodies, and it's like just as much as the barbecue blimp. Yes, this is a real license plate on a real car in Austin. Last fall, Mighty Fine became the first restaurant in the history of Texas to gain approval to actually use a motor vehicle license plate to brand our burgers. You pick your own lettering. I really like this Too Yummy. I don't know that I'd pick that for myself, but I really like the girl that drives that around. But at last count, we had about 90 of these so far. And what we started doing is we were getting so much buzz from it because it was so almost crazy. We even got some national, it was in USA Today. We were getting national attention from it, that we now offer a guest a $100 Mighty Fine gift card if they purchase a plate, bring it over to our restaurant, let us take their picture with their plate, and then we put it on Facebook and other social media. And every year they renew it, they get a new $100 gift card. So if you come to Austin and you see these burgers driving around, you'll know where they came from. Hopefully there may be a few thousand of them eventually. You're looking at the back of Mighty G. Mighty G is the leader of the Mighty Fine guerrilla marketing team. You can see he looks the part. And Mighty G primarily appears at University of Texas athletic events. He has his own Facebook page and has already made several appearances on national television. Here's a picture from a game this fall. As you can see, he likes his license plate. And we had some fanatics that actually tattooed our logo across our back. Now, the girl on the left actually took her shirt off. I'm just kidding. That's actually a male. But when I saw that picture, I didn't even ask about the logos. I said, "You mean that girl took her shirt off?" Now I'm going to show you a short video of Mighty G in action, again at a football game this past fall. This is on the Jumbotron at the stadium with over 100,000 fans watching. This fan on her own decided she had to get in on the action. Mighty G. This is a picture of a hand jacuzzi or a hand wash machine. You're probably asking, why would he put that in the middle of his branding part of the presentation? Well, if you remember, one of our key business drivers is cleanliness. We found this to be a great way to communicate the importance of cleanliness both to our guests as well as our team members, because we also have these in our kitchen. If you look at the red circle, you each have one of these at your table. And if you have clean hands, feel free to put it on. So I'll put mine on here. Believe it or not, we go through over 600,000 of these stickers a year. We never dreamed that a hand wash machine would become a guest attraction, but it actually has. You see these stickers everywhere. They've kind of become an underground item with kids. Now, when I knew they were a hit is when I walked into a Starbucks restaurant and the cashier behind the counter in full uniform proudly had her "I have clean hands" sticker on. People just like the world to know they have clean hands. This is a picture of what we call a viewing wall at Mighty Fine. It's just a large glass window where our guests can observe us in action, hand forming the meat, crinkle cutting our fresh fries, hand squeezing our lemonade. We heard about some new technology called iClick, and immediately we thought, this wall would be perfect for this. It's hard to really get a good grasp of it without seeing it, but it looks like a hologram that's floating between the panes of glass. Guests come in and they're just really intrigued and curious because they've never seen anything like it. It's fun, they interact with it, but most importantly, it allows us to communicate with them. Things like our quality message, what we're doing in the community, our recycling efforts. We can change the messaging anytime we want. Show you a quick video of it. That's burgers, fries, and shakes that are constantly moving. It's just motion-based. You never touch it. Then you see there's community impact messaging in the background. I guarantee you 2010 is a year that I will never forget. It's the year that everything just really came together from our years of pursuing excellence. That started in June when we became the first restaurant in Texas to receive the Texas Award for Performance Excellence. That was followed by the Austin American-Statesman for the first time decided to have a competition of who's the best employer in Austin to work for. Now, there were over 1,600 companies involved, many of them much larger, a great deal more financial resources than we had. But we were named the #1 employer in Austin. And then last, certainly not least, as you know, we became the first Austin-based company and only the second restaurant company to win the Baldrige Award. Now, I said I'd share a few results from our journey, and I attribute these results solely to the Baldrige Criteria. We're the top 1% in sales per unit, guest count per square foot, order accuracy. Mighty Fine, at 3 years of age, already outperforms all other burger restaurants in Texas in sales per square foot. And our original Rudy's is the #1 restaurant in Texas in food sales per square foot out of more than 67,000 total restaurants. Well, how do we know what we're doing is working? Well, it's because we exceed our competitors in food quality, friendly service, speed of service, cleanliness, order accuracy. My favorite, 97% of our guests say that our overall experience is better than our competitors. As I finish up, before we go to Q&A, I have 2 final points. The first, looking back, what would we have done differently? It's really only one major item, and that's I would have engaged sooner by formally applying for an award. Our first formal application was not until May of 2009. which was the Progress Award at the state level. So between May of '09 and November of '10, we went from never applying for an award to being a Baldrige recipient. Our improvement accelerated more in that 18 months than in the prior 10 years. And I would liken it to this. Let's say you decided, I want to get in shape. So you start jogging, getting some good results, meeting some goals. So you think, hey, I think I'm going to enter a marathon. Well, even if you never win a marathon, think how much better shape you got in by training to enter. Applying for a Baldrige award or a state award has the same result. Now, if you do win the marathon, hey, you just got some great validation of how you compare against other runners. Same holds true in business. So I would encourage you to engage earlier rather than later. Now, I've shared our story of how we got here. And thinking of your own situation, what are you willing to do? Are you ready to see it, feel it, be it? I mean, do you want excellence so bad that it's giving you chills? So I ask you again, are you willing to do what it takes? Trust me, the squeeze is worth the juice. Now, I've got 3 members of my senior leadership team. I'm going to even rate them as A+ players. So I thought there's a good chance I'll get some hard questions. So I thought I'd better bring some people that can answer them. Y'all come on up. This is Jenny, and Jenny is our director of training. She's been with the company for 11 years, and she actually started as a cashier in the beginning. Craig has also been with us 11 years. He started as a restaurant manager, and now he's our research and development director, as well as the person that put together all our comparative data and benchmarking data for our Baldrige application. Allison has been with us 13 years. She's our human resources director, and she wrote our application. So y'all fire away at them. Yes, sir.
Is that, I know that you all do an online application. Follow the process after somebody applies online, because certainly an A, B, or C player, how do you start from there and move forward?
Sure.
Go ahead, Allison.
Okay. So with the online application, it starts with a set of screening interview questions. So once we can identify that someone has a schedule availability that could possibly meet our needs, they haven't, it just asks some basic attitude questions and things like that. So once they pass those screening interview questions, then we will schedule a formal top grading interview with that individual. And so there are a set of questions that the top grading director follows during that interview process. And really we're looking for attitudes and behaviors that will fit our culture. We're not necessarily looking for previous experience in the restaurant industry as much as we're looking for people that have a desire to delight our guests. So once that process is completed and she's gone through that interview with that person, then they will do a drug screen. It's also followed by reference checks. We do thorough reference checks. We try to contact every person that's on their list that's a previous employer. If they have never had a job before that, then we're going to look for references, maybe teachers, maybe someone they babysat for, we're looking to find some sort of information in terms of a reference on this person. And then if we're ready to still move forward, then we'll also, once they're hired, we'll do a background check as well. So it's a pretty thorough, detailed process. Again, it's taken directly from the book top rating.
Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you had an innovative process to get buy-in from your staff on improvements. Could you talk about that a little?
Yeah, Craig or Jenny, you want to do it?
Okay.
And for us, this definitely qualified as an innovation. That was not an overly strong statement.
Yeah, essentially what we have is it's called a process improvement communication form. And it comes with its own process, of course. A checklist that's filled out that we make sure that all the manuals are updated, all the process flow charts are changed, and that we've gotten rid of any of the old process. So through the process improvement communication form, it goes down through each level, through our meeting processes, which we have a bunch of different organizational meetings, and it ends with our shift meetings at the team member level, where our managers go through 7 days where they explain the process, why it's better, how it affects those team members, and just encourages buy-in at that point. It gives them the opportunity also, it's a two-way street in those shift meetings, where if they have concerns, they can talk it over at that point.
What I might add to that, it also identifies which key business driver the change improves. And what we found is people want to know, why are you doing this, especially at the pace we were and still are doing it. And they want to know, how does it affect them? So this one simple process really turned a lot of our culture from resistance and I can't take any more change to, hey, keep giving us change. We like it. Tom, maybe one of the few I can know your name.
Your managers are doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with your team members, and you use a form, a coaching chart for that. Can you go into a little bit more detail about how that works and what they're actually doing?
Yeah, absolutely. This question was referring to our one-on-one coaching process, in particular what we call our coaching chart. We implemented that a little over 3 years ago, and what we found was each of our 7 locations, they all have different things, different opportunities. They're not always big company opportunities. So based on the measurements that each store gets, looking at their trend analysis charts, the general manager of that store is able to identify what are our biggest gaps and opportunities. And then they insert those on what we call these coaching charts, their forms. And every shift, the manager on duty, who has been trained to be a coach, watches for those specific processes with every team member that's working, if it applies to their job. Then they're given a score on a scale of 1 to 10. We have our own grading scale. And at the end of that shift, that manager is responsible for giving that feedback to that team member, whether it was perfect, imperfect, or if there were some things they could have done better as well.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I really enjoyed the presentation. Thought it was engaging and entertaining. There's a two-part question. What was the turning point that led you to pursue the state level program? And I may have forgotten the second.
Yeah. David McClaskey had a lot to do with that. He was really encouraging us sooner, but I hate to lose. And with Powell's being our really only point of reference of what a Baldrige winner is, you know, if there was Super Baldrige, that's where they would be. So just looking at that, I just always questioned if we were ready.
I remember the second question now. What resources did you dedicate as far as your team members at the onset? To what degree did you invest in sending your team members to learn about this process?
As far as when we formally engaged in the award process, well, number one, we went all in, starting with the top. So there was no constraints, no budgetary limitations. It's, guys, we are all in. We're going to win it, and we never even questioned losing. No, y'all might want to add to that.
And I would say a real big key, let me step to the mic. a really big key for us was over communicating, really keeping, at every level, keeping them in the loop of what we were doing. That way they weren't blindsided by these new processes. So through those daily shift meetings, we also have a company newsletter we call The Pride. We were constantly communicating what was going on new in the company, what were some things that they could expect in the future as well.
Did that answer what you needed? Yes, sir, I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
Given your relatively brief history with Baldrige and your great success in this short period of time, what's next?
To keep improving. We've already been benchmarking some other companies this year, and we're not letting up at all. In fact, many people have told us, expect some slippage after you win Baldrige, because just like you win the Super Bowl or something, you just kind of let down, and you're going to be at places speaking, and people are going to be coming to benchmark. But those are the same people that said it's going to take you at least 5 years before you have a chance to win Baldrige. So they're going to be wrong about us slipping, just like they were about the 5 years.
One more thing on that, just to add to that, we have a 2011 strategic plan that we've deployed to the entire company. We're exceedingly excited about it. Great things are going to come to 2011 for K&N Management through that strategic plan. So that's part of how we're going to keep it going.
Craig, you might also mention the yearly focus and how that is key.
Yeah, our yearly focus is because of me this year. And what yearly focus is a one-year strategic objective. It's kind of an innovative practice that we do. A one-year strategic objective where the whole company is part of the process of improvement for that year. So it's 52 weeks. We go over our strategic plan, that strategic objective with our team members through the shift meeting process, and we show improvement throughout the year. So because of me is our yearly focus for this next year.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, again, just to, again, on this, the 52-week focus, the whole goal is to create processes and measures that are sustainable. So, we've been doing this yearly focus for over 10 years now, and every process and measure that we created, we continue to do today. So, whether it was in 2001 where we focused on speed of service, those same processes and measures that we developed, we continue to do each and every day and week currently in 2011. So this, because of me, we're really going back to our mission of guest delight. And we are celebrating team members weekly that really go above and beyond our guest expectations and delight them to the highest level that they can. So we're celebrating that, and we're picking a story every week of the team member that best delighted a guest. And those stories are coming directly from our guests. So it's guest feedback, whether it's on social media with Yelp, or it's a comment card, or it's online feedback that the guest has submitted through our website. We are taking those stories and then we're basically celebrating them through our newsletter, through shift meetings, as well as social media.
Yes.
The question is, many people spend a lot of time writing the application and sometimes a lot of resources. But if I heard it right, you did it by yourself.
She knocked it out in about a week.
I'm gonna ask, what did you do? I mean, and what's the process and tips that you can give us advice or in a week?
I'm kidding.
It's a little longer than a week, but well, the first thing I did is I asked for a Mac. So I had a laptop. I did a lot of work at home. But also, really, it's taking it section by section. And I was fortunate enough because I've been with K&N Management for so long that I knew so much about the organization at all levels. And so, really, what it was, it's answering the question and then taking it to your teams and getting the feedback, and so that they can provide any input that you might have missed. So you're putting it together with a team that's also proofreading for you. And it was a challenge, but I feel like with a common voice throughout, it really tied in together very well.
And she's really, really good. And no, you can't have her.
Next question.
Yes.
You talk about all this hard work that you've done. You mentioned play is an important part of your organization. What do you do to play?
Well, I was initially, I pushed back a little bit on it because I'm not a real playful guy. I'm real serious. I had to be won over, but I saw it impact guests a lot with measures that I couldn't dispute. And I've gone from that to myself, Craig, and a couple other senior leaders actually did a choreographed dance at our Baldrige party. So you want to add to that?
Or in the restaurant, actually, and I'll just give you an example of how our team members apply it every day. I can give you 100 examples actually, but every new guest that walks into one of our Rudy's Country Store barbecue, when they approach the register, they're always asked the same question. You've been to Rudy's before, haven't you? And if the answer is no, the first thing that our team members do is they go, everybody welcome, we got a rookie, and everybody yells in the back. And so what we teach our team members is plays about, yeah, have fun at work. You're allowed to have fun, you're allowed to be a little bit louder, but also include the guests in a good time as well. So it's just one example of how we're able to do it. It's a little bit different if you work in an office setting. You'll have rookie.
One thing I didn't mention either is fish is as much internal as it is external. It's not strictly external. So we encourage team members to practice it with each other. Yes.
I got another one.
Okay.
One of the things that I know is really hard in the restaurant business, probably in other businesses, is maintaining the gain. You guys have done this annual focus, but you haven't lost what you gained there. Can you go into a little more detail about what you do not to lose what you gained before?
Well, it's centered around measuring, and which one of y'all wants to take that?
Yeah, that's basically it. We continuously measure those items. They never lose importance. They're kept at that same level of importance. All of the team members know about those measures. They're part of the everyday life and everyday culture of our company. If it's a yearly focus and if it's that important to us, we're going to make sure that it's sustainable and will last as long as K&N Management does.
At the end of that year, if it's not part of our culture, then we've messed up somewhere.
I'll add just something
Yep.
briefly on that. So I'm sure you probably have gathered by listening to Ken that we're not a company that goes kind of halfway into something. We go all in or we just don't do it. And so the same thing goes in with yearly focus. We're not going to halfway do something. We're going to make sure that we carry it out all the way, and then that also requires follow-up.
Was your hand up? Anyone else?
I just have to ask because I know I have kids y'all's age, but
My age?
No,
I want to get on whatever it is you're.
at what age did you start with K&M?
Well, I guess I should answer that question because I get made fun of all the time for my age. I actually started when I was 17. It was about 20 days, exactly 20 days from my 18th birthday. 99.99 is when I started. And probably that day I got hired, I know I had no idea I would be here this long. I had no idea I'd be doing what I'm doing today. And I truly feel blessed to have found K&N and to be with them this long. But you would be amazed at the tenure overall that we have in our company and how long, they start so young and they're here and they make careers out of it.
And Craig, I got to preface. He only looks 25. He's really 38.
Yeah, I'm 38. I started at 26.
And I also started just after my 26th birthday.
And Allison's a good story because how I met her, She was actually in training with our Cisco rep, and I was over just meeting with him, and she was just there observing and started listening to her, hearing about her background. Said, we got to have her, and she's still here. Okay, thanks.